Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. Welcome back to League Unlocked. Eric and Mark here with you. And listen, this LPL summer placement LEC kicks off. It's all fine and dandy, but it's time for the big dogs to get back on the field. We got the debut of summer action, and the LCK boys are back for summer, Mark.
We might be back. It might not be the MSI champions, but we are in the region of the MSI champions, returning back to the LCK, and actually with a pretty good kickstart match for us to get through. Not the giga banger that would be, of course, a lot of people hyping up and writing in that Gen G versus T1 matchup, but
Save it for the weekend. That's week one weekend is that match.
We're not going to have to wait too long for that hyped up matchup, but we did get to kick things off with Dplus Kia and Hanwha Life trying to show us what type of ground they've made up on those two elite squads of the LCK.
And first and foremost, of course, especially with the LCK, we got to check in on those teaser videos. The summer hype, I guess all it takes is winning 4 splits in a row before Gen G is finally the final boss and main character of this teaser video. The zoom in of the Church of Chovy pose, and he's got 4 rings on there. I don't think you actually get rings for winning the LCK, but that's okay because it looked badass.
Man, we've had some pretty darn cool and powerful moments, especially around Faker over the course of the past couple of years in these LCK openings, and especially when we had 2 different openings back in the older days when you had kind of had one that was really, really high production and amazing. Then you had one that was really wacky and zany and out there type of thing. Now we are all focused. And yes, even though Faker does get his shout out, his pedestal moment in this opening, it is all about the rise and power of Gen G at the end. It is capitalizing and putting that exclamation point on that 4-time championship for Gen G heading into this season.
And for the first time, we're not feeling a little sad that, yeah, they won the LCK, but they choked internationally. No, these are the defending MSI champions, so the hype is even higher for Gen G right now, but they weren't on the Rift in day one. Hanwha Life, they had the tanks in the preview video, but they were the ones getting rolled over in game 1 against Dplus Kia as they completely stomped them. But game 3 is where the banger is here. These guys absolutely delivering in the debut. 45 minutes, 4 different Baron buffs taken, and Mark, pretty much every single time it was a classic burger flip.
It was a burger flip all over the place, and it was the type that you love to see, because this wasn't necessarily, and I'm not giving it the full excuse type of thing here. It wasn't just simply, just burger flip. We're burger flipping because we want this opportunity, want this chance. It was purely a desperation. They understood getting this win, getting this edge on top of each other is going to be huge as far as we look towards playoffs and getting yourself primed to take your best shot at a Gen G, at a T1 that is ahead of you in this priority list of the LCK. You could sense that in this game 3 and the way that they were playing, some of the decision making and the forcing that was going on from a couple of these plays. How about that top side matchup of Skarner versus K'Sante? We got to see a lot of Skarner in this series all the way through.
All 3
pretty
games,
much.
Yep.
But I think by that 3rd game, believe it or not, you were probably cheering for K'Sante because you were seeing some wonky and some frankly frustrating things out of the Skarner all the way through this series.
And I'm going to be honest, a lot of these, we've seen multiple games. This Skarner ulti that he can do over the wall, it looks straight up janky. It almost looks like it's a bug and not intended. It feels like it skips a couple of frames, but I have never seen, and especially in this 3rd game, I think it was, how tanky these Skarners are legitimately making K'Sante look squishy.
And that is the absolute absurd moment here with Skarner at that time. You can kind of take all these other little pieces. You can live with seeing that, the jankiness of the ultimate and all these things. But that insane resistance, that insane tankiness that he has over a champion like K'Sante that we have already seen, and not that this should be where you are compared to and where you want to be. You can't be in this type of territory of tankiness. We were trying to take him down from that level, never mind being eclipsed by Skarner at this point.
And 2 main takeaways from this series, aside from Skarner, continue to be an absolute menace on the Rift, is Dplus. I know we memed a bit about the burger flipping, but their control around objectives, especially in this third game, finding the right angles for fights, leaps and bounds better than we were seeing for the majority of spring. And gotta shout out the individual performance from Lucid, especially game 3. He picks up the MVP, 7-0-7 on the Nidalee, and kind of embarrassed Peanut in that one. Peanut did a little bit of himself getting caught out in a pivotal moment, but love to see the rookie starting off summer with a bang.
This is that moment that you got to recognize. The pendulum always swings and always swings back the other way. How many times we see Peanut embarrassing people on the Nidalee pick early in his career? Here we go, Lucid dishing out the same to now the veteran Peanut on the side of Hanwha Life Esports. I think that is a perfect shout out for what Lucid was doing, and certainly a player that has a lot of eyes on him heading into this split to show more of that potential, more of that hype that people had for him to join this Dplus Kia squad, to make that mid-jungle synergy with Showmaker as well. That's something that people want to see a lot more of. This series was a good showing early for summer.
And listen, Hanwha was very much in that driver's seat as that third team in the LCK all of spring. So getting an early win here for Dplus, confidence-wise, as a collective unit, looked a lot better. So feeling good about them incredibly early and expecting a bounce back in Hanwha to still be a legit contender throughout all of summer. Had some LPL action on the Rift as well, and I don't think you can even put a fraud title on LNG anymore, Mark, because to be a fraud, some people have to think you're good. And so far in summer, they've shown no signs of being good. The latest woe is me moment is throwing a 10K gold lead against Rare Adam.
I think, you nailed it. There is no fraud label on this LNG anymore. I think this is a buy one, get five type of situation. They are absolutely clearing stock of this, and that is the way that it has been going in these performances for LNG. And the latest one is a very disappointing one against Rare Adam. Not to say Rare Adam can't be a team that is going to generate some momentum and be in a conversation possibly for one of these playoff spots. But for a squad like LNG to reach the highs and have the expectations that people did for you last year, heading into this year with relatively minimal changes at first, or
one
changes
jungler that was supposed to be an upgrade.
And that's the change that was supposed to be. Hey, we are making a positive change here at this type of point. A lot of people questioned that type of change in the first place, and I think we are seeing the results of that change go the opposite direction. We are seeing a reverse in performance and expectations for this LNG team, and that is clearly where we are now, where not even a fraud label can be stuck on them because they haven't proven enough in the first place to have fooled you into the fraud label.
Yeah, Xiaozhu gets a 1v3 backline in the big team fight where they're down 10K to get back into this game, and you've even got Vikla now outperforming Scout. This is FlyQuest Vikla in the LPL. Kind of embarrassing. A 3-4 time MVP in Scout as his struggles continue here in summer.
And that is one of those indications where you can kind of take it two ways. And for me, at the very least, it is more so a realization and an acknowledgement that part of these struggles, part of this poor performance, you got to chalk that one up into Scout. It's no longer that situation where before it seemed like it was a lot of the other things around him that led to his performance not being at that type of level, not having an opportunity to get that, affection or, make that effect on the Rift. Here we are now at this point, and I think it is fair that you have to put him into the category as well with his teammates as far as why this LNG experiment has not worked out.
LNG looking like they very much deserve to be in that bottom losers bracket as we go into the next round of summer. Other end of the spectrum, Top Esports is wondering why these placements are a double round robin, because their group, it's not even close. They moved to 3-0, a perfect 6-0 overall, and okay, you can nitpick some of these games in terms of maybe it's taken them longer to close things out. Oh, it took them 30 minutes to close this out, but this was Tien fully online. First, he goes 10-1-13 on the Nidalee. Then he's got a 15 assist game on the Maokai, doing it on both a carry and a tank. It's against weaker competition, but Top Esports continues to roll.
Top Esports, the bacon of the LPL. And I say that because they hit that pan nice and hot. It's sizzling. They're jumping out there on the rift, giving you everything you got. You're getting excited. You're smelling the smells of breakfast. You're thinking, here we go. This is my meal. And then all of a sudden, at some point, aka MSI, you get one of those little grease splatters and it stings you. And you go, oh, man.
Right in the eye.
You go, I hate making bacon. How could this possibly be worth it? And then you taste it. You get to watch a top esports game like this and you see it all there. It all comes right back to you. You go, it's all worth it, baby. That is the treat. Top esports this series. Another one where they were somewhat greedy, I think you could say, as far as where they were pushing their advantage and their lead and what they wanted to do. But I will give them the pass on it, because absolutely the setup for a lot of these plays, and specifically Tian in the jungle, making sure that it was set up properly, is a big bonus for me for this execution on top esports.
And I think the only actual takeaway I can get from TES so far, because again, they haven't been challenged whatsoever, but it's mostly been the guys we talk about the least on this squad. Tien and then Cream in the mid lane, especially this game 2 in this series. Those have been the standout performers so far. It's not Jackie Love 369 or Mako. I mean, they're playing at a great level still, but it's the mid jungle duo that I've really been highlighting so far.
And that's what makes you move on from that grease splatter spurt of MSI. That's what gets you back onto the hype train for breakfast, because here it is. You're seeing Tian and Cream, two of the members that you would maybe have a question mark about. You might have a disadvantage into some of these more serious elite level matchups you could find at an international competition. Seeing these type of performances, picking up this type of momentum, you can get behind them as a whole, because you know what you're getting with 369. You know what you got in the possibilities of Jackie Love and Mako in the bottom lane. If you can start to know what you're going to get and like what you're going to get from Cream and Tian for top esports, that's a whole nother level.
That's when they're at that legit competitor for BLG, who, by the way, on the Rift next day of action for LPL, going up against World Elite, a pair of 2-0, 4-0 overall, haven't dropped a game either of these squads. So finally getting what should actually be an exciting matchup in this first round of LPL action.
The OPL never lets you catch your breath, even if some of these matches have not necessarily been that exciting, been that marquee, build it up type of matchup. That's one that's coming for us right now, and absolutely it has been every single day, back to back to back. We're rolling through the LPL, and BLG is your next one on the rift.
I gotta say, this summer placements opening round, it's 4 weeks long. Why is this double round robin? I feel like matching up against every squad once in this group, you get an idea. I need to see BLG go up against LGD and RNG again. I need another top esports versus OMG matchup.
I think the idea here was to be cautious with Fearless Draft in this type of sense, and understanding, all right, we're going to give these teams another opportunity, right, to get that bounce back, get that opportunity. And I think a lot of us have seen, well, we don't need that opportunity. We don't need that other example to come to that conclusion of where these teams should be and where we want to see them in the next phase of this LPL split, because that's the important thing to realize. Of course, this isn't the whole time of just Fearless. We are moving into a more traditional part of it, and where the bracket sets out and splits out. That's going to be the time I think a lot of people are going to go, well, why did we spend so much time through this round robin stage when we already knew the answers to this by halfway of the round robin stage?
And I get that these one-sided matchups now are so that they won't be there later in the regular season, but early on, it just feels a little bit weird to see these one-sided matchups, that combined with the complete abandonment of the English broadcasts, and it feels like all of a sudden the LPL is like a tier 2 region when we know it's one of the two best.
Which to me is one of the most unforgivable things with Riot type of thing, and the situation around it. I know a lot of the individuals, they would love to have more of that presence type of thing, but there's a lot of other complications on why it is not a situation, why it's not an enacted situation. The viewers lose out. That's the most important thing to me, and that's one of those things that we have talked many times, and especially over the course of the rise of the LPL on the international stage, urging people to give the region, give these broadcasts a chance. You are going to have fun. on so many different angles on what you could be looking for in a professional League of Legends match. The LPL always delivers. Not really the situation as far as this split has gone out. Certainly a more experimental feel is the way that this split has gone out. And part of that has been the lack of coverage for the English community.
We touched on, obviously, all these sweeping changes, the LCS and globally heading into 2025. Jumping back just because one of the biggest points was the LCS going down to 6 teams, and immediately your question goes, 16. Well, we got 8 teams now, so you do the math. That's 2 of them leaving, which means we will be so few compared to a year ago. We had 10. We're almost cutting this league into half. So the question is, which 2 squads are most likely going to be out for 2025? And right away, I feel like you can say Cloud9, Team Liquid, 100% staying because they are the most iconic brands left in the LCS and obviously 2 of the premier squads. NRG spent a bunch of money to get their spot. Can't see them going out. FlyQuest, Papa Smithy basically said we are fully invested, and they have been in both the LCS and the Challenger scene. So those 4, no chance that any of them are going. Shopify's a bit of a wild card. I can't see them selling because they just got in, much like NRG, so probably staying. And even Dignitas is on the bubble for me because it feels like they just invested so much in this new LCS roster. You're really going to bounce one split later?
That's the question I think a lot of people are having, because the one angle that you could see is possibly Dignitas goes, all right, screw it. We're not coming back next year. Wipe
if this one blows up, yeah.
Let's go for broke. Let's go for it all. We're going for the final trip. We're going to cash out on all the apparel sales, whatever we can do to get our money up in this last little situation. I think that is one of the concerns that you would have with a Dignitas and seeing the drastic changes and moves that have gone on so quickly recently for them. The other one I think a lot of people are immediately going to jump to and look is Immortals down at the bottom of the LCS.
That's the most obvious one, I think.
It's a very obvious one that we've had various, rumors all about before. We've had rumors of a TSM Immortals partnership. What a nightmare. We've had a whole situation with Immortals that we have seen them come back to the LCS and not necessarily outside of maybe half a split really deliver on the Immortals brand of before, of what was there in the fandom and everything else. It has absolutely, I don't know what to say. It's been less than a candy MMM shell of what they formerly were before as an organization in the LCS. I view those 2 as the 2 most immediate options. The one that I am somewhat concerned about and have some questions and don't have full certainty that they are going to be a team that wants to stay and should stay in the LCS is 100 Thieves. And that is, I think, one that's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. But I think it has been one of these things that's gone under the radar, various things about their funding, their profit generation as an esports organization, where they are with that, where their investment is lying within esports, all these type of things. I think 100 Thieves is certainly one of these teams that is going to take a serious look at themselves and have to make that question of whether they truly want to be part of this LCS for the long term, or if this is their opportunity to slither on out.
And again, that's another squad that was rumored in this last rounds of cuts going down to 8 that they might have been one of the squads. We've seen them invest in every other part of their organization except for League of Legends. They're highlighting, streaming, content creation, obviously Valorant, other pro esports. That's kind of where Nashot and the gang is going, and wouldn't be surprised if it's them and Immortals or Dignitas. I'm even less surprised, but it's definitely going to be 2 of those 3 teams going forward. It seems like the other squads are definitely going to be safe, but is there an angle where TSM comes through the challenger scene and they get the guest spot for the redemption back TSM Academy?
Almost any other organization, I would say yes. There is a possibility for that to go deep down, to humble yourself, go down to the grassroots and really build it all back up.
Too much
That's
ego.
not happening.
Too much
That
ego.
ain't happen. I'll tell you, Reginald is still there with TSM, no matter what type of little, hey, you got to stay away from the LCS a little bit from you, bro, type of stuff from Riot. He's still there with TSM, one of their, what is it now, counted on your 2 hands employees going on with this organization. They ain't coming back. they ain't getting an LPL spot. They're not getting an LCK spot. They are certainly not finding a way to budget themselves into the LCS.
That's the other region they were going to conquer. The NACL. We thought it was the LPL or the LCK. It was the NACL that TSM is coming back to. But no, I hope we don't see them going through the challenger scene. We're done with them in the LCS. We're going to be done with Arcane after Season 2. This was already known. We had the latest trailer drop, and people, you know, they're on either end of, oh my god, 2 seasons, it's so good, milk this for 5, 6. But I'm happy to see it end after 2 because it's been at such a high level. I feel like the story can be wrapped up there. And we've heard they got tons of movies and TV shows in the works. Think of how big the Runeterra universe is. I want to see other parts of this incredible world.
It's one of these situations where you got to have that awareness to step back and take a look at the situation and say, hey, we could get unlimited seasons of Arcane. They could tell so many stories within these characters, within this setting, and it would be great. Yes, there might be, flow in the quality, all these things, but it would be a phenomenal story, and League of Legends fans would love it. The other side of that coin is to realize spending all this focus, only specializing in doing this story of League of Legends is a disservice to what you have built all across this, ecosystem and lore of this universe and game. I am thrilled that this is the way it's going because I think this number 1, Season 2, that teaser trailer, banger. This looks unreal, just like the same high quality level and stakes and drama that you saw in the first season of Arcane. You know that Season 2 is going to deliver it and even rank it up even higher to a whole nother level from what I saw in that teaser trailer. And on top of that, they have clearly stated and gone on the record to say we are making more League of Legends universe content, whether that be TV, anime, movies. You are going to get more media of this property. And one of the biggest things for me is expanding and exploring that lore and that universe that you have built. Give me a Shurima show. Throw in the Freljord. You've got so many places with so many wonderful characters and stories to tell. You can't be spending it all just in Piltover and Zon.
It's all just to open up the world for the MMO dropping in 2055. So they got lots of time to build that world. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll catch you on that flippity flip.